Good morning, California. Welcome to the webinar for the California Public Utilities Commission's Federal Funding Account Program for Last Mile Broadband. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted online afterwards. I'm John Baker, and I'll be sharing the floor today with my colleagues Mike Ammermuller, Mary Roteman, Greg Rubenstein, and Reagan Roxford. We're analysts with the California Public Utilities Commission's Communications Division, and we'll be introducing you to the federal funding account and providing a high-level overview of the requirements, application, and reporting processes. We're honored today to have with us our Deputy Director for Broadband, Maria Isabel Ellis, who will offer a few words. Maria.
Thank you, John. We are so pleased to have you all with us today. We have over 300 registrations for this webinar, which speaks both to the need for these investments throughout California and the importance of this work. Over the lifetime of the program, the Last Mile Federal Funding Account will provide roughly $2 billion in grants for last mile investments that will connect Californians and unserved communities to reliable broadband. This is just one of the suite of historic once-in-a-lifetime investments prioritized by Governor Newsom and the California Legislature under Senate Bill 156 and the banner of Broadband for All. Combined with the $3.25 billion in open access middle mile investments provided by our sister agency, the California Department of Technology, the federal funding account and all the related programs underneath SB 156 are inching us ever closer to closing the digital divide. We hope this webinar will be helpful to you as you consider development of your applications. This will not be the only opportunity that you will have to learn more about the program, how to apply, or to ask questions. We will provide additional opportunities for you in the future, and you can reach out to our staff anytime using the information that's going to be provided for you. We really appreciate your time in being here and your commitment to closing the digital divide in California. Back to you, John.
Thank you very much, Maria. As I noted, we're here for the federal funding account. This is a webinar for prospective grant applicants. Let's get to our presentation. First, here's today's agenda. We had our brief welcome already. We're next going to talk a little bit about the legislation that got us here and the decision that set the rules. We'll have a brief discussion of looking at the program as an overall entity, including looking at who's eligible for grants, what projects are eligible, and in what amounts. We'll talk a little about the application process and resources we have to help you apply. We'll get into what happens after you've applied, and if you've been accepted, what you will have to report. We will have a brief question and answer session, then take a brief break of 5 minutes or so. Then we'll come back with an introduction to the practical matters, and then the applicant tool, how to use it, and the grant portal and how to use it. We'll have a second Q&A session after that, take questions until we adjourn, and we will give you all our contact information and leave it all up on the screen. We're going to have 2 question and answer sessions today, and because we have at last check about 350 registrations, in order to make sure we answer questions that will benefit the most prospective applicants, we're going to do things a little differently than you might have had in the past. We're asking you to put general questions in the chat as we go along that we will try and answer during our 2 Q&A sessions. If you have a specific, unique situation about your application, we're asking you to please send it via email to federalfundingaccount@cpuc.ca.gov. That's federalfundingaccount@cpuc.ca.gov, and we will repeat that address later. And to preemptively answer what will likely be everyone's first question, everyone who registered for this webinar will be emailed a link to the slides and a recording of the presentation as soon as it's over. First, about the program, our first window is open. The window opened last week, and we began accepting applications. It's going to remain open until September 29th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We are planning a second application period during the first quarter of 2024. I want to caution you all, you do not need to rush your application. All applications in this window will be reviewed and analyzed as a group. So please take your time to put together an amazing application. This is a list of all the programs authorized by SB 156. Today, we're just talking about the top one, the last mile federal funding account, which was to set up last mile broadband connections connecting homes and businesses with local networks. We have 3 other programs there, as well as adjustments to our existing CSF program that also came from SB 156. You can find resources for those on the CPUC webpage. The federal funding account rules were established through Commission Decision 22-04-055, and this program is all about last mile infrastructure. This $2 billion account has an allocation for projects in every county, with $1 billion for projects in urban counties and $1 billion set aside for projects in urban counties. Each county has at least $5 million with additional funding for its share of the state's unserved locations. You can find the allocation for your specific county in the decision page 33. Important thing to note is the projects built by this grant program must be capable of providing 100 megabits per second download and 100 megabits per second upload. The following entities are eligible for grants under this program: facilities-based broadband providers, local government agencies, electric utilities, nonprofit organizations, entities with a certificate of public convenience and necessity in telecommunications, also known as a CPCN, co-ops, and California tribes, including their wholly owned corporations and nonprofit organizations. If you're concerned that your organization or entity does not quite fit one of these categories, please email us about your specific situation and we'll help you work it out. Now let's talk about areas that are eligible for projects. Eligible areas are locations which lack a reliable wireline connection capable of 25 megabits per second download and 3 megabits per second upload. Most projects designed for this program will be with the base unit being census blocks containing unserved locations. The program rules do allow for very limited funding of service to served locations if the inclusion of those locations is necessary to make serving unserved locations or businesses economical. Applications to this program will be scored using a scoring rubric that's both on our website and linked to this slide. Up to 170 points will be awarded for criteria such as matching funds, use of fiber, type of partnership, use of low-cost plans, service of low-income and disadvantaged communities, and others. Information about those areas and definitions are in the scoring rubric. The rubric does break down how we award points, including those for serving low-income and disadvantaged communities or tribal areas, which are priorities for this program. I'm now going to turn it over to Mary, who's going to talk about the next section of the application process.
John, I'm going to briefly talk about the application process. The Federal Funding Account website is your starting point. Use the public map and application tool to gather the resources you'll need for your application. Applications will only be accepted online through the Broadband Grant Portal at broadbandportal.cpuc.ca.gov, shown at the bottom right of this slide. The portal is also where you can submit payment requests and any required reports. Next slide. There are 3 steps to the application process. First, submit an application. Second, CPU staff will review your application and make any award recommendations. This may take up to 6 months. And third, if granted an award, begin construction, and complete your project. Next slide. There are several after-award requirements. Grantees will need to submit monthly contractor reports, quarterly payment reports, and completion reports. These will all be entered through the Broadband Grant Portal. The detail for this is in Section 14 of Appendix A of the decision. Additional details on reporting requirements and process will be posted on our website. Please check our website for updates. Next slide. The federal funding account program is reimbursement based. That is, no money is going to be paid until a grantee has spent funds and filed a report. Payments are made based on a percentage of the award spent at specific completion intervals of 10%, 35%, 60%, 85%, and completion. Supporting documentation includes submitted receipts and invoices. Next slide. We all know this is a lot to take in, so we really encourage you to visit our website at www.cpuc.ca.gov/FFA application page, where there are resources to aid you.
Thank you, Mary. We're going to go now into the first of our Q&A session. I see we've already got some questions coming in. We've got a few minutes to address some of the questions before our break, so I'd like to reintroduce Mike, who will call and read some of the most asked questions for us. Mike?
Thank you, John, and good morning, everyone, and thank you again for joining the PUC's webinar on the federal funding account and the Broadband Grant Portal. As mentioned earlier, there are over 300 registrants for this webinar, so we will answer as many general questions from the chat box as we can in this first Q&A session, and we will do so until roughly 10:30 or 10 minutes, whichever is later. Since we will be presenting on the applicant tool and broadband grant portal after the scheduled break, we recommend you hold off on questions related to those topics for our second Q&A session, as your question may be answered during the second half of this webinar. We apologize in advance to those potential applicants whose questions we are unable to address today. That being said, for questions not addressed during this webinar, as well as any other questions regarding specific projects or applications, please submit them in writing to the federal funding account at cpuc.ca.gov email address, and we will follow up. That all being said, let's move on to our first question, which is one we've received pretty common. First one, I can see we've gotten a few. Are projects currently under construction eligible? I believe that question's for you, Mary.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. Are projects currently under construction eligible for this program?
John, I'm going to punt to you on this one.
Sure. We cannot fund anything that was started before the effective date of your either resolution or award letter. So if you have started a program, you may be eligible for expenses going forward, but we cannot fund any retroactive expenses. And we'd have to look at your specific project to confirm that.
Thank you, John. Another one, can a single applicant submit multiple applications for areas in different counties? So that's for you, John.
You most certainly can, and we encourage you to serve as many Californians as possible. All applications will be judged separately, though.
Thank you. Another question is, when does the application window close? I believe, Mary, you can answer that.
Yes. Hi, yes. September 29th, 2023.
Thank you. A lot of questions coming in. Can you please elaborate on wireline and what internet using cold copper wire considered? John?
Yeah, wireline is literally by wires. It's generally going to be fiber or perhaps a cable DOCSIS 3.1 or later. Cold copper, old copper, we will look at it, but you have to hit 100 download and 100 megabits upload. And quite frankly, there's some debate about whether older technologies can hit those speeds. We will consider a project, so we will look at it. But if you can't hit those speeds and can't prove that you can hit those speeds, the project will not be funded.
Thank you. And another question that's on, is it possible to challenge eligible locations on the currently available broadband map?
Yes, we are continually updating our map as we get new information in. When an application comes in, our goal is to post those applications to our website monthly. And there is a 2-week challenge period after those applications are posted, and you can offer your evidence that you already served that area at that point.
Thank you. John, again, what is the period of performance or timeline for completion for these projects?
Sure. From the date of obtaining all permits, projects that are CEQA exempt, we require to be done within 18 months. Projects that are not CEQA exempt, we require to be done within 24 months of award.
Okay, will reviewers be prioritizing the unserved or total locations more, or whether locations are within the disadvantaged low-income area?
I think one important thing to consider is that while this is a program for everywhere in the state, each county has its own allocation, and we will be competitively scoring projects only against projects within the same county. So you may have variances in each county on how that's taken into effect. Certainly, there are points awarded for providing service in disadvantaged, low-income, and tribal communities that other communities do not have. I did have a question that was sent to me privately saying that the rubric totals 130 points, not 170, as it states in the slide. You are correct. That was an error in the slides. Thank you for pointing that out. We missed that through several layers of review. There are 130 total points in the scoring rubric.
Thank you, John. Another question that came in, are community anchor institutions eligible to apply for grants?
Yes, if they do not currently meet speed thresholds.
Thank you. Another question is, do the applicants have to use the California interactive map to view eligible locations?
We have a separate public map for this program. The California Broadband Interactive Map that most of us have been using for several years does not have the same served and unserved criteria as the public map does, specifically regarding speed thresholds and older technologies such as DOCSIS lower than 3 and fixed wireless. So areas that were not eligible on that map may be eligible on the public map. So we do take all our data sources into account when analyzing.
Some more questions. If an area currently has a wireline up to 100 megabytes down, but not more, would it qualify? Or what are the qualification speeds needed?
If it already has, it's got to have, this is a little complicated. If it does not have both at minimum of 25 up, 25 down and 3 up, it will be eligible. So for example, if you have 100 down, but can only hit 1 up in an area, that area would be eligible for this program. I see a question. Will these fiber build projects be classified as public works projects so prevailing wage laws apply? That has not yet been determined as far as I know. I know our CASF programs do fall under public works, so prevailing wage does apply. We will get back to you, look into that and get back to you on that specific aspect of the program.
Thank you, John. Another question is if an applicant's already submitted under a different program, such as CASF, would they be able to submit under a federal funding account as well?
If you already have an award for CASF that will take you to the serve status, that area would be ineligible. We do not wish to double fund areas.
Thank you. Another question, do tribal communities within a county have their own allocation or do they share the county's allocation?
At this point, they do share the county's allocation because it's based, the allocations are based on total households, not government designations.
Thank you, John. Another question, once the application window closes, can you please give us an approximate timeline when they would hear from the FFA team?
Our goal is to give a determination on every award within 6 months of the application closing.
Another question, go ahead, Jonathan, sorry.
Yeah, I do see a question that's going to affect a lot of people and we've gotten in the past. Can multiple people from each entity, such as a city, register for the applicant tool or just one person account per entity? You can have as many accounts in the applicant tool as you'd like per organization. However, they cannot see each other's work. So we recommend in a situation like that where a team is collaborating on a project, you perhaps register under a team accessible email and password.
Thank you. Another good question. Will projects be awarded on a first come, first served basis or an overall competition among all received applications?
As noted during the presentation, all projects within the same window will be judged as a group. And if they cover the same areas, they will be judged competitively using the scoring rubric. So again, it's best to give us a complete, awesome application rather than one just trying to beat someone else. We'll take three more minutes of questions and then we'll take our break.
Another question, can middle mile be covered to service last mile users if the middle mile is severely constrained?
Yes, in a case like that, we will look at these circumstances and the program does allow for middle mile funding under those specific circumstances, as if you can't access the statewide middle mile, for example. But again, all projects must result in end user connections for this program.
Another question, if a site has fixed wireless, will it be eligible?
Unfortunately, not for this program. This program under the federal rules and our CPUC rules does require a wireline connection. You can use certain microwave backhauls, for example, but the end user connection must be a wired connection for this program. If you do want to fund a fixed wireless project in an area, please consider applying for a companion program, the California Event Services Fund.
A question on eligibility area. Is an eligible area only defined as the census block, or what about serviceable address location?
We will get as granular as we need to be to fund service. So you can work on lower than the census block. We do encourage using census blocks because that's where the cost modeling is done, the level at which cost modeling is done. So that is probably your best bet. However, if part of a census block is served and part of it is not, we'll look into to splitting it up. Maybe two more questions and we'll take our break. And again, we will have a second Q&A session near the end of the presentation. And we will get as many questions as we can before 11 o'clock. I do see a question about whether grant funds can be used to support services such as accounting and administrative staff for recording. If those positions are necessary for this project and they are not under the regular duties of that person, we will consider funding those. I see a question about when challenges will be due, 14 calendar days from September 29th or from the date the staff publishes the notice of the applications. It will be 14 days from when that application is posted online. So if you're not already a member, if you're not of the California Advanced Services Fund service list, please sign up for that. We will be announcing the publication there, as well as putting the applications up on the FFA accounts website. More information on the challenge process will be forthcoming. Maybe one more question?
One question is, does every home in the census block need to be served for eligibility?
Not necessarily. We definitely would prefer that you do, and points are awarded in the scoring rubric if you do serve every home in the eligible area. But it's not necessarily a requirement, and although again, we do encourage it. Okay. Thank you, Michael. In order to remain on time, I am going to give us our brief 5-minute break at this moment. We will be back in 5 minutes with an introduction to the applicant tool and the broadband grant portal, which is a new system used for this, first used for this account. It is 10:27 now, so I'm asking everyone return at 10:32 a.m. Thank you. We will be back in about 1 minute, everybody. 1 minute. Okay, everybody, we'll start coming back over the next 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you all had a good little break. We would like to keep going so we can stay on schedule. So I'd like to introduce Reagan, who will speak about our application tool and our broadband grant portal. Reagan, take it away.
Thank you, John. Good morning, all who are joining us today. My name is Reagan, and I'll be providing a quick overview of the application process within the broadband grant portal and the applicant tool. As discussed earlier, the broadband grant portal is the main portal to apply for a federal funding account program, while the applicant tool is an auxiliary tool for developing proposed project areas, which will be the basis of applications for funding for the FFA program. Applicants are encouraged to register for applicant tool account. To register for an account, the applicant will first need to fill out a registration form online, which is available in the CPUC's federal funding account website. The entered information will then populate an end user license agreement, which will open in a pop-up window after submitting the form. Applicants will need to electronically agree and sign the end user license agreement and the terms and conditions by clicking the start button on top of the end user license agreement. And then once your end license agreement is approved, you will receive a notification email providing you with username and a link to reset your password. And once that process is done, you can now log in to the applicant tool, which looks like this a screenshot on the right-hand side of the screen. Once log into the applicant tool, right here, I'm just having a little bit of technical issues. It's not moving. There you go. So let me just walk you through how to develop project areas in the applicant tool. So once you log into the applicant tool, the interface will look like this. This mapping tool will allow you to explore, visualize, and select project areas at the census block level. To start a new project area, you can click Create New Plan. Then you can select census blocks in the map by choosing either the hand tool or the lasso class tool, and start selecting census block within the map. Selected census blocks will be highlighted in yellow. You can use either the hand lasso or the hand tool or the lasso, which is the minus sign tool, to deselect any census box that you don't want that's already highlighted in yellow. In addition, applicants can turn on or off additional layers, such as political boundaries and equity metrics on the upper right side of the map to further inform the development of the project areas. Key data information associated with the census block selected will be displayed on the left-hand side panel under the Key Data Summary table. Census block level information can be viewed by clicking on the Expand button, small square with an arrow on top of the Key Data Summary table. Applicants can either save a draft of their selection by clicking Save Draft, or submit selection to create a plan ID. Once Submit is clicked, a plan ID will be generated and appear on a pop-up screen. This plan ID is required in the Broadband Grant Portal, so please write it down. Alternatively, you can find this plan ID by clicking on the Open an Existing Plan drop down on the top of the panel. Let me now walk you through how to register for the Broadband Grant Portal. Applicants can register for the Broadband Grant Portal through the link in the Federal Funding Account webpage. To register for the Broadband Grant Portal, an applicant will provide basic information such as name, the contact information such as email address, as well as the name of the entity. Once verified, the applicant will be prompted to sign to reset the password to their account. A registration confirmation email will be sent confirming that the registration is successful. Once you have the account for the Broadband Grant Portal, you can log in to the portal. To start an application, click on the federal funding or click on the last mile. Click on the last mile funding opportunities, and then click Start. You will be prompted to enter the plan ID that you have created in the applicant tool. Once you enter that plan ID, you can now start completing the sections in the application. Once you're done, you can submit. You have an opportunity to review the information that you've provided, and you can submit at the end of the page. Mary will now provide some more information related to the application process. Mary?
Thanks, Reagan. We really want to make it easy on all of you to do your applications. So please review these pages that are listed on this slide. And we'll also send a link to the presentation via email to everyone who registered, as we stated at the beginning of the presentation. So don't worry if you haven't written them all down.
All right, next slide, please. Now we'll be going on to our second Q&A, which will go on for about the next 10 to 15 minutes. Michael, do you have questions for us?
Sure. Thanks, John, and thank you again for everybody. As said before, we'll try to answer as many general questions in the chat box as we can. We'll do so for the next 10 minutes. Again, for questions not addressed during this webinar, is when any specific questions you might have regarding your potential application, please submit them in writing to the federal funding account at cpuc.ca.gov email address, and we will follow up. First question, just a question clarifying the overlap between the CASF, this California Advanced Services Fund, as well as the last mile federal funding account, and whether how to apply the application for two different programs.
Sure. If the question is regarding that they've applied for CASF, if they've applied for CSF but haven't been approved yet, I suppose they're free to apply for FFA. We will work with CSF to see which is the better funding option. But if you've already been approved for a CSF award, we will not send two grants for the same project, obviously.
Thank you. And here's a question concerning the applicant tool. Does the project plan ID need to be submitted under the same username as the account that designed it in the applicant tool? Can one username create the project and then separate username enter the plan ID to submit the application? I guess that's a question for you, Reagan.
Yes, the plan ID has to be related to the person already applying for that specific project area.
Thank you. Another question concerning the mapping tool versus the portal. Are separate registrations for the mapping tool and the application portal needed?
Could you please repeat that, Michael?
Yeah, sure. Are separate registrations for the mapping tool and applicant tool required?
Yes. So you could either first register for the applicant tool and then for the broadband grant portal, or other way around. But either way, you'll have to create a plan ID in the applicant tool to be able to continue the application process in the portal.
Thank you. Another question, can multiple people from each entity, like a city, register for the applicant tool, or just one person account per entity?
Yes.
Another question regarding the public map. Does it show low income populations or speed only?
On the public map or the applicant tool?
The question is about the public map.
And they're asking whether it has low income information. The public map. Oh, go ahead.
So you're correct. That's the question.
Okay. So the public map does contain information including low income, median income data, but it does not have information on speed.
A question about the portal as well. Does the portal allow to save our work and return at a later time to edit?
Yes, absolutely. You can save and return to any parts of your application anytime, as long as you haven't submitted the application.
Question
There
about,
was
go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, Michael. There was a question in the chat. I mentioned the CSF distribution list earlier, and someone asked how to be added. So I did put the link into the chat. It's a very simple process. Just send an email to casf_adoption@cpuc.ca.gov asking to be added to the list. That's the entire process.
Thank you, John. And a question about the tool again. Does the same accountant which created the project on the applicant tool, must they submit the application on the portal?
Preferably yes, so make tracking easier. But again, as Jen said, if it's a collaborative work within a team, then probably it's good to have one generic email and username so that people in a team can access it. But it's preferably to just be one person using the applicant tool and also applying in the grant portal.
Thank you. And another question about this applicant tool. Does the applicant tool allow us to select individual locations in a census block or apply for only part of a census block?
Currently, it only allows you to select census block and not location. So it will select the entire census block, but not part of it. But you can apply for partial census blocks.
Question about submitted applications. Where can you find applications once they've been submitted to see if an objection is necessary?
So once applications are submitted, they will be posted on the CPUC website, and so you can view them. We will be posting a summary of the application, which is a public version of their application.
And a question about speed. How will projects certify their ability to provide 100 symmetrical up and down service?
Yeah, let me take that.
Yeah, sure. First of all, they will have to give us a demonstration how they are providing the technology. They'll tell us about what technologies they're using, et cetera. The important thing is they will self-certify that they will hit those speeds. All projects are subject to inspection at near completion date, and if you don't get those speeds, we may have to talk about what you do to get those speeds. So, but generally we can judge looking through technologies and talking to our engineers here on staff.
A question about the portal again. Can applicants add contractors and other collaborators in the portal once registered?
Yes, if you are registering under a one general email and then one general account for everyone. Otherwise, they have to register separately to be able to use the applicant tool.
Okay. John, do you have any other questions that you'd like to highlight? All right, take it.
I would just like to note that we are seeing some specific mapping questions. Please email those. They're probably a little complicated into the weeds for this online chat. We will answer every question that's emailed. We'll try to get as many. We're going to copy the chat and try to respond to as many of the questions in the chat via email that we can. I do want to note before we go the kinds of technical assistance that we do have available. We have several tools online, including a recorded webinar on how to use the portal. We have a administration manual, the scoring rubric, etc. If you do have questions, please reach out to us at federalfundingaccount.cpuc.ca.gov, and we will try and get back to you. The application resources page that Mary pointed out earlier has several templates. I see people are asking in the chat about templates. Most templates are going to be there. And again, we will be posting the submitted applications once a month on the website, and that will start the 15-day challenge period. And as noted very early in the webinar, we are planning a second application window sometime during the first quarter of 2024. All right. Reagan, if you can go to the next slide.
Oh.
Again, thank you everybody who attended today. I know we did not get to all the questions. Please submit them via email to this address. We will answer every question that comes in via email, and we will attempt to find most of the questions during chat and respond to those as well. Please keep this handy. Again, the webinar slides, a link will be mailed out to everyone who registered soon. For those who wish to review it, this webinar will be posted online. And again, thank you so much on behalf of the California Public Utilities Commission for attending today. Have a great day.